Where do you come to get all your news? Washington Forward. Where do you come to get all your news? Washington Forward.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, and I am so sorry for those of you all who've been standing by waiting for us to get this show started. Hey, yeah, I have to tell this because I'm just one of those people. I'm always, just full disclosure. I went to an amazing Martin Luther King breakfast this morning, sponsored by the United Planning Organization. It was held over at the Ronald Reagan building right off of Pennsylvania Avenue. And you all know this. And yeah, you have to remind me of this. When you park in one of those garages, you have to take a picture of where you parked your car because I walked around that lot for 15 minutes looking for my car and realized I was on the wrong floor. So, anyway, that's what led to me being late today. And I want to thank the team and the guests for actually being patient. But that's what happened. But I want to say Reverend Dr. Gwen Boyd was the keynote speaker there. She did an amazing speech. And in the end, her final words to everybody was bring it because of all that we've been through and all that we're think we may be going through. We have hope, but most importantly, we know we can get through and actually thrive going forward as long as we pull together. So her theme to us was bring it. But anyway, let's tackle some current events making waves this weekend. Again, it's the Martin Luther King holiday celebration, and the holiday was well, actually, Dr. King's birthday, as you know, was January 15th. And I want to give a shout out to WPFW for all that they did to bring us our local Pacifica radio station that led us throughout the day with Dr. King's words, with many of his speeches. Very inspiring day. But the holiday, as you know, will take place is on Monday, January 20th. It's also inauguration day, and as a result of that, we are asking you, the viewers and listeners, to join us for the Peace Walk 20th annual Peace Walk and Parade that will be taking place tomorrow, January the 18th, right here in Ward 8. The Peace Walk is going to take place at Shepherd Park, located at Martin Luther King and Malcolm X Avenues. We're doing a cleanup right after the show, so I'm going to have to run and change up so we can help to clean up the park. And after that, on Saturday morning, the Peace Walk rally will take place beginning at 9:30. Folks will be there to, kind of get folks started. We're expecting about 300 people there at the park. And then the Peace Walk will lead onto the campus of St. Elizabeth's Hospital or St. Elizabeth's Ground, where we will proceed to the entertainment and sports arena for the indoor. Now, listen to this. I'm telling you, the parade this year is going to be indoors. So you don't have to worry about being cold. The only thing I ask you all to do, one is not the only thing, but one, I ask you to sign up at mlkholidaydc.org. The place to sign up is on the screen right here. Let's put that back up again. You can sign up. Make sure you register for the parade. It's free, but we do encourage you, and we do have to sign up to come into the ESA to watch over 80 groups, including 10 marching bands, several dance groups, local organizations, all will parade into the arena, and we are expecting a really fantastic event. I want to also say, if I can give a shout out to the Marion Barry Youth Leadership Institute. We had over 100 essays that were submitted this year. Excuse me, Sherry. Okay, all right. My producers give me instructions that I can't follow. So anyway, yeah, we had over 100 young people, elementary, middle, and high school students, who submitted essays on why it's important to remember the life and legacy of Dr. King. Don't tell us young folks don't write, can't write, don't want to write, because they do. And so we will be announcing the first place elementary, middle, and high school winners tomorrow at the ESA. All of this will be the opening program for the parade, which will officially start at 11:30, but the we have some pre-program events that will begin at 11. So we just want you to be in the seats at 10:30. Make sure you're warm, comfortable. We're going to have a health fair that will take place on the upper level of ESA. There are going to be lots of vendors who are giving out information and resources that will help you through the year. And also, the Washington Informer will be there. We will all be there to kind of get the party started, as we say, as we again take time out to celebrate and commemorate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. So, again, go to the website, sign up, see you there tomorrow. And, I was so happy. We pray hard for good weather on MLK, and we don't always get it. But this year, we were talking about 46 degrees, might be a little rain, but it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. So I hope to see you there. Now, speaking of great day, we're going to talk about right now here on Let's Talk. We have some wonderful guests joining us today. First up, Denise Wright will share with us her tips on how to create a compelling memoir. And in essence, we all have a story. That's part of what the Washington Informer is all about, storytelling. And we all have a story, and we sometimes have a story that we want to share with the world. And so, how do we write? How do we pull that together? What are the elements of creating a great and a compelling memoir? Well, that's what Dr. Denise Wright is going to share with us. And then get ready to be inspired by the CEO of New Works Productions and music producer of Let Freedom Rings. The Let Freedom Ring celebration, Nolan Williams, as he discusses the upcoming MLK performance at the Kennedy Center. It's going to be a great event, and I'm looking forward to going. So I'm so glad that Nolan's going to be here to share that with us. And next, and then we will have our experts, Skylar Nelson and Richard Elliott, who are going to bring us up to speed. This is a great football weekend. So for those of you all who didn't leave town, who don't plan to participate in inauguration activities, who are looking for something to do after the parade on Saturday, you're going to be seated in front of the television watching great football. So Skylar and Richard are going to talk about the latest on the Washington Commanders news and HBCU coach changes. So don't miss out on this exciting sports segment. Looking to explore. So before we get started, be sure to pick up a copy of the Washington Informer. You can have access to a digital. Let me go here. Because I'm racing through this because I'm trying to catch up on time that we missed because we were late. But this is this week's issue of the Washington Informer. So I hope that you'll pick up a copy. We deliver the newspaper to over 600 locations throughout the DMV. So I hope that you'll get a copy and share it with your friends. And as a matter of fact, if you want to, we would love for you to take a picture of yourself with the Washington Informer. We always have this section in the paper called Look Who Reads. And we would love to include you in that if you would just send us a picture of yourself reading. I'm trying to find the page. Reading the Washington Informer. This week we had Kwame Alexander, the author, Kwame Alexander. He does some great children's books. And so I'm going to show you the page. So, you just pick up the paper, read it. See that one? That's what we do. So, and then send us that photograph with your name and a little bit about yourself, and we will certainly add you to the folks that read the Washington Informer. You can send that to us at news, NEWS, at WashingtonInformer.com. That's NEWS at WashingtonInformer.com. Now, you can also read the Washington Informer online. You can visit us at our website, WashingtonInformer.com. No matter where you are in the U.S. or around the world, you can read the Washington Informer online. And we hope that when you go to the WashingtonInformer.com website, that a little box will pop up and it'll ask you to become a subscriber. only thing you have to do is put your email in that box, and you will become what I call a member of the Washington Informer family. And we will send you a copy of the Informer. Every week, we'll send you daily updates through what we call Win Daily. And we have a couple of other newsletters there that you might be interested in subscribing to. So if you will do that, we would deeply appreciate it. Go to WashingtonInformer.com and sign up. And you can always follow us on social media. We want you to share this episode on, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching, share it. But you can find us on all of the social media channels, like I said, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We don't know what the future of TikTok is, but we're there as long as they're there. Threads, Nextdoor, LinkedIn, YouTube, Blue Sky. So if you want to follow us, feel free to do that. Actually, we're asking you to do that. And again, like I said, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is Washington Informer TV. No spaces, straight Washington Informer TV. And there you can see this episode and any other episodes that you may have missed out on over the years. We've got some great programming we love sharing with you. So before we bring on our first guest, let's watch our weekly news broadcast by Curtis Knowles.
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. 3 people have been arrested as the Maryland Car Rally Task Force has cracked down on car rallies across the state. The task force has said the operation has, quote, dismantled a total of 4 large-scale illegal driving exhibition events and prevented another 5 from forming throughout Baltimore City, Baltimore County, as well as Howard, Montgomery, and Prince George's County. It said all 3 arrests were tied to an event that was shut down on Contera Drive and Spitzer Lane in Laurel just after 12:30 a.m. And all of the arrestees are DMV residents, with one of them being from Bowie. The Maryland Car Rally Task Force includes Maryland State Police and the Maryland Transportation Authority Police, along with Baltimore City and police departments in Anne Arundel, Baltimore, Howard, Montgomery, and Prince George's County. The Department of Justice, joined by state attorney generals, has filed an amended complaint against RealPage and 6 of the nation's largest landlords, accusing them of engaging in an anti-competitive scheme that drove up rental prices for millions of Americans. The lawsuit alleges that Greystar Real Estate Partners LLC, LiveCore LLC, Camden Property Trust, as well as others, have used RealPage pricing algorithms to coordinate rental rates and share sensitive information, reducing competition in the housing market. These landlords manage over 1.3 million units across 43 states and Washington, D.C. The Justice Department has accused them of exchanging sensitive information, including rent levels, pricing strategies, occupancy rates, and renewal rates to align their rental prices. Federal officials allege that the property managers frequently conducted, quote, call-arounds, contacting competitors to gain and share details about rent and discounts. Senior executives also communicated directly about planned price increases and other strategies, which further undermine competition. The Washington Post on Tuesday laid off roughly 100 employees across its business division, the latest indication of the newspaper's financial woes after subscribers and staffers revolted over owner Jeff Bezos' decision to block an endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris. The cuts amounted to roughly 4% of the publication's staff, but did not affect the newsroom, according to a spokesperson from the Post. The news comes as the beleaguered newspaper has hemorrhaged several high-profile journalists in recent weeks, and top candidates have pulled out of the running for the Post executive editor job.
Thanks so much, Curtis. I tell you, a lot going on in the DMV, and in my rush to get here to the office, I drove down Pennsylvania Avenue today, and it is interesting to see how the city is set up for. And I don't know if they're set up for the inauguration. I don't know if they're set up for the People's March. I'm not sure. I guess all of those things, but it's going to be quite an interesting 3 days here in Washington. So I know a lot of times those of us who are DC residents, I mean, I don't want to say we go into hiding, but we certainly try to avoid those crowds. And it makes a lot of sense if you're going to do that this weekend to just observe. I would not say ignore what's happening in the city, because it's very important to stay aware and informed, but you might want to try to avoid trying to travel through the city after you leave the Martin Luther King parade on Saturday. So I am so excited now to bring on our next guest, Denise Wright. She's a consulting psychologist and freelance writer who's going to give us maybe something that we can work on while we are at home this weekend. Denise, welcome to Let's Talk.
Hi, Denise.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm glad to see you.
Likewise, likewise. Now I know about your writing, but I was not aware that you actually can help folks in um, writing their memoirs. Talk a little bit about how you got into this business and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, by trade, I'm a psychologist, but also I kind of like tripped into this whole writing thing. In school, you have to write essays and what have you, and you have to, learn words with expression and your adjectives and the grammar and all of that. I think things started off when I was asked to write, obituaries. So I would historically write obituaries for, members of the family or friends of the family, and it kind of blossomed from there. I went to Howard, got my dissertation at Howard. You got to know how to write if you're gonna get out of Howard. So that was something. Also, I'm a co-editor on the Cyrus papers that Dr. Ray Winbush and I, we completed with Black Classic Press with Paul Coates out of Baltimore. He published it, so that was back in 2018. So that was aside from research papers, just doing the book. Currently working on a book on Black cemeteries, notably Black Georgetown, Mount Zion. So working
Yes.
on that project. So things are happening in terms of, like doing the writing. But I think we're all authors in some way in terms of like documenting our lives and what's going on within our lives.
I want to go back, Denise, because you talked about writing obituaries, and I know people sometimes have challenges with that, and I just sort of like the last story about a person's life,
Hmm.
and I save funeral programs. I've got so many, it's unbelievable. But
Right.
and there's stories in there. Talk a little bit about, if you can, y- you know, how important that task is for the family and for the deceased.
Yeah, well, it's important to try to highlight, what made the impression, how they made their impression while being here on the planet, So it's like it takes sometimes to try to interview different people in the family or close friends or people who really knew the individual and ask them, what impressed them about the person or what really stood out for that person and try to encapsulate that within the narrative, for the obituary. So
Hmm.
that's something that you kind of learn things about the individual. You just kind of try to put things in some type of context so it can convey a sense of understanding about who that person really was.
Right. So, I mean, hopefully, sometimes we would have sort of told our own story.
Mhm.
And when you talk about a memoir, what define that? Define what is a memoir?
Well, a memoir is basically, kind of like a first person recount of your own life and how you see it, your own experience. And a lot of times, what happens is when people attempt to do that, a lot of people find it challenging just to even be able to talk about themselves and how they feel about their experiences. So a lot of that stuff takes practice. I'm going to use a kind of like a thing because I think we're kind of like the same. Remember those diaries that you used to have with the little locket? Do you remember those, or did you ever
I
use that?
I I I had one then,
Yeah,
and I still have diaries.
right.
Yes,
So yeah, so diaries. So
but I remember the one with the little key.
right, with the little kid stuff. And I remember I still have one from the ninth grade.
Yeah.
And I perused through that, and I swear to God, I'm still the same individual I was decades ago that I am now. I mean, just different aspects of my personality. And so it's really, really illuminating to kind of like keep a record of these things. And I always encourage people in terms of like documenting, family history is very, very important because your progeny, the generations that come after you is very informative. So like we've had documentation from our ancestors, be it W.B. Du Bois or whoever, and we're able to kind of like go back and see what was it like back then, be able to connect at that level. So too for our families and those who are related to us, that we understand and have some kind of grasp about what it was like to be who we were and what our family was.
And so, when it comes to like, what your additional background is, you're a psychologist and we talk about therapy. I know for me, sometimes, those nights when you can't sleep and your mind is racing, I'll get up and pull out my journal and just start dumping,
Right,
right? I go back to bed. I sleep great. But
right.
talk about why that happens. What is it? What is the, mental, I guess, benefits of writing stuff out as opposed to trying to carry it within?
Right. So I'm glad you asked that question because it not only helps to document what's going on with you at the time, but it's a way of dealing with things that dare not be said, things that are suppressed within your memory. Um, Clinically, a lot of times I have my clients, journal, because a lot of times I say, well, I'm anxious or I've had a panic attack or I ate only 2 donuts. When in reality, you maybe ate 12. But it's like really documenting and saying, okay, be in real time, being in the present and documenting these things. So we need to have a measure of progress. So clinically, from a clinical standpoint, it proves to be a really effective tool. Again, a lot of times, maybe times people don't want to even document or they don't want to journal. So I ask them to kind of like put together a cluster of words that describes what you're going through at the time or making note of what transpired, a few minutes before you became anxious or whatever. But I think journaling is extremely important for everyone to kind of utilize as a way of expression because a lot of times we don't know exactly how to verbally express these things, and
And,
maybe we're more effective writing them out.
and how beneficial are those journals in, like you said, getting back to the topic of the memoir? How can, how are they beneficial in getting that memoir written?
Well, they're beneficial because it kind of takes you back to where you were in the past and comparing it to the present. And a lot of times when we talk about journaling or documenting, we also talk about aspirations for the future. So it kind of gives you a capsulation of those things. Further, when you document these things, it's extremely important from a historical aspect that we're able to document because so much of our history has been written for us. So a lot of times there's a need for us to document what's going on with us, what's going on with the family, what transpired, dates, and things of that nature. My concern is in terms of social media and being and documenting that way. You take a picture of somebody, your dinner or people gathered around. There's a story behind that.
Hmm.
It's a story behind that pic. There's a story, there's emotions behind it. It could be, your 30th birthday and it's a picture of a cake. What exactly does that cake mean? Did somebody special give it to you? Were you celebrating alone? It's like those kinds of things kind of draw in a context and a picture for what you're going through and can be a jump off point for starting your memoir.
Interesting. And let's go back to that starting point.
Mhm.
How do you start a memoir?
Well, you start a memoir like we were talking about in terms of the journaling. Journaling is a good start, and being able to kind of look through and looking back and saying, this part aspect here is particularly interesting. Or it could be just about anything. It could be an object. It could be a box. It could be a conversation. It could be a number of things that kind of spark and motivate us to tell our story. And again, whether you're writing technically a memoir or not, I think it's extremely important to document your life in some type of way so that you're able to see it. And not only that, allow your extended family, and your children, grandchildren, to be able to see what's going on. My mom, she used to write notes all the time. It could have been about the most pedestrian thing, like when to pick up the laundry or whatever. But now that she has passed, that information is so valuable. It means so much more in terms of seeing how she really worked and raised all of us all at the same time. It provided a sense of context of who she was. So, in that way, it's very, very valuable.
I've seen, because I love bookstores, right? So I'm
Mhm.
always kind of walking around looking at things, and I've seen books or journals that actually have prompts. they may ask you a question, because some people don't know kind of where to get started, but they have these prompts, meaning a question that they may
Mhm.
ask you. And then it encourages you to write, a couple of lines or a couple of sentences about
Right,
that, which of course could end up being pages.
right.
But what do you think about those?
I think that's a way to get started. I also think about asking questions, about things in general. There might be some things that you're wondering about that you might interview your grandparent or, a great aunt or someone, or ask questions about, who you were and what kind of baby were you, or, do you remember what it was like, or, these kinds of things kind of inform you about, what was going on at that time. And
Right.
like I said, it gives you kind of like a focal point. There might be a ring or something that somebody has, or it might be a wedding ring, or your mom's former brooch, or your dad's shoes. Anything can be something that really sparks your interest.
For people, this is, we have Washington Informer Charities, which is focusing on literacy. And we
Hmm.
recognize that in our community, we have a large number of people who uh, can't read,
Right,
and therefore can't write.
right.
But yet they have stories to tell. What
Yes.
would you say to someone like that who says, well, I'm not going to keep a memoir because no, I can't write. Are there other ways?
Well, there are other ways. Number one, one of the suggestions is if you're not a good writer, and not everyone is, okay? I mean, not everybody's a good writer, and not everybody knows how to really start with the process. But you can always get somebody to write for you and collaborate with someone to write for you or to write out some of these things,
Hmm.
and to have be accessible for telling stories and talking to folks. There are a lot of freelance writers out of here. There's a lot of times people in your family who like to write and would be more than happy to tell your story, or close family ties. So that's kind of like a way to start and make those inquiries about, I have a story to tell and I'd like to document it. And I think that's a good way to start in terms of developing your memoir and documenting your life.
I know that there are a lot of tools now that record and also transcribe things that people could just talk into,
Yeah.
and then it'll transcribe it, and then you've got a document, which is something that I think people could use as well. How,
Mhm.
Denise, what are you available to help people who might be trying to get a memoir written, or do you have any resources that you could point people to?
Well, not that. Well, I mean, I'm more than happy to help anybody.
Uh-huh.
But technically, I mean, just formally, I really don't do that.
Okay.
Informally, I do help people do that. But there's always things that are available on the net for you to do that. And like you were saying, being able to talking to the software, and it records everything you say. The reason why I ask about a person is because a person sometimes can ask questions that you may
Mm,
not even think about, and
exactly.
bring the conversation into a totally different realm that you hadn't even considered. And
Right.
so that's why sometimes it's good. And being not necessarily being a fan of AI or whatever, just kind of keep it human for a minute and then do the fine touches with technology. So yeah,
Right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us.
yeah,
My daddy used to say, if you don't record, if you don't photograph, if you don't tell your own story, you're basically writing yourself out of history.
that
And
exactly.
so, and we all play some role, and in many cases, something positive that we're doing in the lives of others that needs to be remembered, if
Yes,
no place else in that obituary.
right.
Right.
Particularly now, where
Right.
we are right now, need to document seriously.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us and for
Okay,
sharing this and encouraging people
yes,
to do it now. And so we hope that folks will take heed and begin to record.
right. Hopefully, I'll be able to come back again and we can talk some more.
Looking forward to it. Thanks a
Good
lot.
seeing you, love. You take
All right. And
care.
a happy new year.
Okay, happy New Year to you too. Let's see
All
you.
right.
Bye bye.
So yeah, I Washington Informer, we write here, but at the same time, we're always, even personally, I think keeping a journal and all of that is important. Especially, I'm looking forward to writing in mine about this weekend when I get a chance to hopefully be there at the Kennedy Center with our next guest, Nolan Williams Jr., who is bringing an amazing concert there on Sunday night. Nolan, welcome to Let's Talk.
Thanks for having me. How you doing, Denise?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm glad you found your car.
So am I. So I was like, is my car deaf? I kept pushing the alarm. I realized I was later. I must be on the wrong floor. But
Yeah.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm sure you write, but you write music. You write, you produce. And
Yeah.
so I guess I'm making the tie-in, but
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that's your outlet. That's your connection to telling the story and telling
Yeah.
stories.
I am a storyteller through whatever medium I can basically access, and so certainly I write music. I now produce documentaries, as you know,
Hmm.
short films and music videos that programming that centers around our history and our culture. So yeah, I mean, storytelling is so important. It's really important that we not only preserve our stories, but that we find honor in our stories and in stories that are different than ours, right? That's part of what, to be honest, is plaguing our country. The fact that we're not open to other people's stories and
Right.
seeing perspectives that are different than our own and respecting them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we could go into a long conversation about that, which I would love
Yeah.
to with you. But we'll save that maybe for Black History Month,
How about that?
because I know you got something coming up. So we'll talk
Yes, sir.
about it as well. But let's talk about this Sunday at the Kennedy Center.
Sure.
What Let Freedom Ring concert that you're bringing to the Kennedy Center is not the first, but give us some details about that.
Yeah, this is the 21st year that Georgetown University and the Kennedy Center have come together to do this celebration. It is one of the most august celebrations of Martin Luther King's legacy in the nation. And we're really proud of it. We've had 4 sitting presidents that have attended this. I have been music producer for 20 years. So I've been doing this for quite a while. And we're excited that this year will be a banner year. We'll have Christopher Jackson, we'll have Esperanza Spalding, we'll have Taye Diggs hosting, we'll have Chelsea Green, the violinist, Lucid, the rapper, narrators, Nicole Salter and Quincy Vicks, dancers, our New Works Voices of America, our New Works House Band. It's going to be quite an evening, quite a celebration.
And so, again, give us the details about, I know it's at the Kennedy Center, but what time and are tickets available and how can people come?
Yes, this Sunday, the time is 7:30, and people can get tickets at the Kennedy Center on the day of the event. Tickets will be released starting at 5:30. So the way it usually works, folks start lining up kind of earlier in the day. You know how that is. But still, if you come in the early afternoon, you'll still be able to get tickets, and it'll be a great family celebration.
Why? Why does the Kennedy Center do this? Or more importantly, why has Nolan Williams decided that this was, worth your time?
Well, let's start with Georgetown University because this really is their baby.
Okay.
And this was the brainchild of John DeGioia, who is now the past president of Georgetown University. Jack DeGioia believed that the university needed to play this role of providing some kind of major event that would celebrate King's legacy by bringing the broader community together. And I celebrate DeGioia even as he has stepped down from his presidency. He was a great leader and a great visionary. And my role with this has been, they wanted to connect with community. They wanted to have someone who could bring all of these aspects together. Like originally, there were members of the Georgetown community that were a part of this. and then they wanted to bring other folk as well. So that's how I really got started. And over the years, it's just morphed into a full-scale production. I'm commissioned every year by Georgetown to write something that we introduce. And so it for me, it is one of the most meaningful events that I participate in each year, an opportunity to remind persons of not only the legacy of King, but the message of King and the relevance of that message in our times.
And that's where I was going next, as a matter of fact. I mean, how does it pay tribute to Dr. King? What went into your creative processes to acknowledge, his legacy and his message?
Yeah, King is such a venerable figure, right? And the average person feels like they know a lot about King, and yet the average person is still just scratching the surface. He was so prolific in terms of his storytelling, right? His speechifying, his writings. And so each year I have this opportunity to just kind of dig in and find some perspective that will focus the celebration around his words. And this year, we're actually lifting up the 60th anniversary of the march from Selma to Montgomery. There were actually 3 marches, as it turns out, but we're lifting up that legacy and how that led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act. And so the opening number for the show will be the world premiere of my work called Selma at 60. And it'll be a great way to commemorate that history.
Wow. I mean, it's not only entertaining, but it's edutaining, right? You're educating people about things that we think we know, but we don't, and people will leave there clearly with a better understanding of Dr. King, the movement, and as I've heard you say before, the other individuals who played roles in that period.
Absolutely. And then the other exciting thing that will happen is Georgetown University shines the spotlight on someone from our community who is doing great work. And so this year, Paula Thompson, who is a part of the Voices for a Second Chance, will be given the John Thompson Legacy of a Dream Award. And this will shine the spotlight on her organization and the amazing work that they are doing to help returning citizens who are in vital need of more support. They've paid their debt to society, and so now they have every right and every privilege to be fully supported and integrated back into our societies.
I mean, it's certainly a reminder of I've heard you talked about this before, but the many occasions that Dr. King himself was incarcerated, where he was imprisoned for allegedly breaking the law, but breaking the law for, as John Lewis used to say, getting into good trouble.
Good trouble. Yeah. And look, we're going to end the program with a song that I've written called Birmingham Letter that is based on his letter from a Birmingham jail. So yeah, I mean, good trouble is something that we really need to talk about these days, because you and I need to really be about the business of getting in good trouble.
Right.
Especially in these times.
Well, you've inspired me, Nolan. I keep saying, I'm going to come, but I want to be there.
I got your tickets. I got your text message. I know where this is going. I got your text message. I got your tickets. So I'll look to see you there.
And I can't wait, because again, the more you hear the words of Dr. King, the more you hear about his story, the more you hear about what he gave us life.
He gave us life.
We can't take that for granted. He knew he was going to die, but he was on a mission for equality and justice and equity and all of that. And so if there's no other time that we take to honor him, it ought to be now. And you are giving us the best platform, you and Georgetown and the Kennedy Center. We appreciate you for that.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be able to do this, and thank you for giving me just this moment to come and share about it. And kudos to you, Denise. You know how I feel about you and the amazing work that you and your team do. Like, you are just one of those persons in our community who is always about the business of helping to uplift our community. And we're so grateful for that.
Well, speaking of uplifting, before I go, I want to know, is there any way, I mean, does the Let Freedom Ring concert series, does it need support? How can we contribute to it beyond this event? What can we do to make sure that there's a 21st?
So I would say, for folk who are interested in doing the work, look at Paula Thompson and her organization, Voices for a Second Chance. I'm sure they could use support. For folk who are interested in knowing more about the work I do, go to nolanwilliamsjr.com or Newworks with 1w.us, and you can check out more about the work that we're doing. We believe in leveraging the power of music and the arts for social good. And so we're always working on projects with that aim in mind. And grateful again. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for sharing it with us. And I know you got a lot come on your plate between now and Sunday, so I'm going to let you go.
I'm rushing to rehearsal right now.
All right. Okay, doke. Thanks a lot for joining
All right.
us.
Blessings.
All righty. Bye-bye. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, folks, but I think, of course, I'm going to keep mentioning the parade, but if you are available, it's free. Come on out to the Kennedy Center on Sunday night. I think it's going to be a wonderful event, and I'll tell you about it if you're not there when I see you next week. We want to do something for our sports fans, so I'm excited to welcome Skylar Nelson. Skylar only has a few minutes because she's got to run the class, and Richard Elliott to the show. I'm going to jump off and let these two have a conversation about who else? The Washington Commanders. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Thank you for the wonderful intro. The last time that we were able to do a segment like this, Skylar was the good luck charm that made a Hail Mary pass work. We see these wonderful photos by Abdullah. Look at that photo. Wow, the color contrast.
Just the wild card was just truly amazing. The Commanders have been able to sweep past those Tampa Bay Buccaneers and getting past Baker Mayfield. Now they have an even bigger challenge this week where they're going to have to take on the Detroit Lions, and this will be their biggest test yet. The Detroit Lions, they're number 1 in the NFC right now. They just beat the Vikings in week 18, and now they are going to take on the Commanders. And Detroit is hungry. They haven't had a Super Bowl appearance ever in franchise history. So that's something that they are looking for. And now they're not even the laughing stock of the NFL. They're 15-2, sitting at the top. And on top of that, Coach Campbell yesterday was just talking about, this is going to be a close game. A lot of people think that Detroit is going to sweep the Commanders up. I don't think so. I think this game is going to be really close. You have Jayden Daniels, you have Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, the defense, you have Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner, Mike Sainristil, you have Diami Brown on the offense. There's so much that goes into the Commanders. The best thing that they will be able to do this weekend is for Cliff Kingsbury to really put all the plays into perspective on offense. The O-line's going to have to block for Jayden. I have a feeling he's going to play really well this weekend. He's going to run. He's going to pass. There's going to be a lot of play connection early if they can between Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, and that's really what's going to be the factor. And the defense is going to have to show up. They can't allow as many offensive yardage for Detroit, just like they did against Baker Mayfield. Again, the Commanders are known for those slow starts and dramatic finishes. And I feel like that's what's been getting them this far. But can that uphold against Detroit? We're going to see this weekend.
Great analysis. What do you think are the key matchups? Do you think this will be a quarterback duel? Do you think this is going to be a battle of whose offensive line can hold up stronger? I know Aiden Hutchinson is a real edge rush threat. What do you think are like the key matchups in this game that are going to determine the outcome, in your opinion?
Yes, I think the offensive line is going to be a key outlook. One of the biggest things is the offensive line has to perform in order for Jayden Daniels to create those plays. They have to give him some time. And Jayden Daniels, he's pretty patient in the pocket, but we even saw with Tampa Bay that he can't be so patient in that pocket. He's going to have to move. He's going to have to create some plays, but the offensive line has to block. That Detroit defense, which is pretty strong, they're going to have to block this weekend. They can't get away with blocking and not blocking in the first half and then coming through in the second half. They're going to have to block. Otherwise, the Detroit defense is going to shut down that offensive play, leading to more punts, leading to more penalties even. That's another thing that's going to hurt the Commanders this weekend is if they continue to keep those mistakes rolling, the penalties are going to come as well.
What dynamic do you think that Jaden Daniels, like versatility as a quarterback, to be an accurate pocket passer, but also to be a scrambler? We could say a new age and improved RG3, respect to RG3 for his great rookie season. How do
Yes.
you think that versatility impacts how the offensive line and the other players on the team need to adjust, in your opinion?
Yeah, so really, I like to compare. I don't like really comparing Jaden because he's even said to the press, like, I'm my own person. But
Mhm.
I see a lot of Lamar Jackson in him. I really do. I see that he's starting to understand what the pocket looks like. He's starting to understand where the routes are ending up. I think that that really helps guys like Terry McLaurin who have that strength and power to get downfield. I think that helps guys like tight end Zach Ertz getting into that middle spot um i- past the defense as well. So and then that also gives in terms of just passing and then the run game, that gives Brian Robertson Jr. and Austin Eckler that chance if the play is made correctly. That gives them the chance to run upfield. So I think that just his versatility and being able to not only pass the ball, run it off if he has to, or even run himself, I think that that gives the team great versatility moving forward.
Strongly agreed. I like the way that you put it. Over the course of the season, even though he started off phenomenally, like an all-time rookie season, the
Yes.
pocket feel, the accuracy of the passing has improved consistently over the season. And this is not the next question is not to detract from anybody currently on the team. This is just to assess what you think the team should get moving forward. What positions or types of players do you think they should target in the draft? Clearly, you've said offensive line, and I'll always agree with you. You never have too many offensive linemen, but expound on that to the best of your ability.
Yeah, definitely just attacking the offensive line, but adding on to that, I definitely think that they do need to explore some of their options too on defense. Bobby Wagner, he currently is taking his MBA at Howard University, and he's been in the league for over 13 seasons. I think, just exploring your options in the future. Obviously, Bobby will probably be in Washington for maybe one more year,
Mm-hmm.
maybe two. But the thing is like exploring those options on defense because in a lot of cases defense can also win games, and that's been the case for Washington when they played Tampa Bay and also when they played the Eagles. So I definitely feel like, just exploring those defensive options. Now the receiver options are also in the
Mm-hmm.
works. I think, just getting somebody outside of Terry McLaurin would also help the team be more successful, giving Terry like that kind of level field so that he doesn't feel like the only receiver. Because if you think about it, most of the passes have gone to Diami Brown has been there, but a lot of the passes have gone to this season like Zach Ertz or the run game with Brian Robertson Jr. and Austin Eckler. There have been a lot of rumors recently about Tyreek Hill, known as the Cheetah. He wants to leave Miami. He's been very clear on that, and I think maybe he does need to come to Washington. I think that would be a great fit. I think he matches Jaden Daniels' style a little bit in terms of like that fast play.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's an option for him, but the Commanders, they're going to have to definitely pay him for sure. And I think the thing is right now, has he been playing his best in Miami? It's kind of when you want to leave a team, your mindset and your play style kind of shifts. Can he come to the Commanders and perform? I think he can, but it's all about can we create plays that help his game and also to stay within the realm that the Commanders have already built. So that's something that is a possibility, but it needs to be taken into serious consideration so that the team dynamic doesn't change because the Commanders have come so far. And, sometimes some teams get a little extra greedy and they bring in all of these players and then it
Mm-hmm.
turns into a big ego factor. So hopefully, that I think it's a great fit, but it's all about we have to see it. So definitely an option.
I love that you're referring to this. For anybody who's listening, we've seen or had seen decades of the former team, the Washington Redskins, striking out almost every free agency. Adam Archuleta, Albert Haynesworth, late career Deion Sanders. There are countless examples of players that they tried to sign, I think mostly to boost attendance rather than to improve the team. And this is a total page turn where a player like Tyreek Hill, who I think you're right, he fits in perfect. If you have him as like a slot receiver in a sort of West Coast like offense with Jalen Daniels, you can do screens for Tyreek Hill. You could do sort of backfield plays for Tyreek Hill where you can get the Lamar Jackson like athleticism out of Jalen Daniels on a play by play. If you could say other free agents that you think would be, or other players in the league, even whether their contracts are about to end, that you think are a system fit, because that's how you put it. They need to get system fits and not just big names that sell tickets.
Well, even then, it's kind of hard to tell right now because if you think about it, there's a lot of teams right now who are going to be not necessarily rebranding, but kind of in the sense of it's going to be a battle for the draft for sure. The Commanders are in a high spot since last year because even though they had a still great season, they were still promised that spot at the top, kind of not the number two, but they are up there in some way. There's going to be a lot of teams this season that are going to be bringing in a lot of new players outside of Washington, and that's where it's kind of going to have to be a look and decide situation. Obviously, the new ownership is doing a great job and doing their research now, scouting, making sure that they keep the vision that Dan Quinn has came and implemented. But it's going to be a lot of give or take here. You still got the Ravens who are going to be adding on to their team. The New York Jets have to add on to their team, especially. They're in a serious losing bracket as well. And then you have the New York Giants who are also going to have to make up for that as well in the draft. The Chicago Bears are going to have to be doing the same thing. Atlanta's going to be looking. There's a lot of teams in the NFL who are going to have some chances at the top picks before the Commanders. But there have been reports this morning and yesterday that 80% of free agents are looking at Washington. So we're gonna have to really see how this is gonna work. I think what's gonna end up happening is the Commanders are gonna take their draft picks, and then they're gonna do some. I think they're gonna get some free agents. That's what I think. But depending on who, I still have to kind of like make my list on who may come to Washington because they're like players with 5 teams on their list, and it's like doesn't really help me because I'm like, you could say that you're coming to Washington, but if Washington doesn't offer you that contract, there's nothing to talk about. So it's definitely something that, we're going to have to put into perspective as the season progresses.
For one of the players that I think they should consider in the draft this year is cornerback Denzel Burke. I think he goes to Ohio State.
Yeah.
I've seen many people complain about what's his name, Benjamin St-Juste.
Yes, Benjamin St-Juste this season. I'm not going to compare him to Emmanuel Forbes because that's cruel. But I will say he has not been showing up as he should. I think he showed up more in the beginning of the season than he has right now. But I can't really call out Benjamin St-Juste because Sanger still has been doing his job. He's been the number one cornerback option for the Commanders, and I got to give him his props. He's come in, he's done his job. He's been really good, and on top of that, too, we've seen some of his highlight games. He's been able to play at high efficiency against those top teams in the in the Commanders division, like the Eagles. Like he really held Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown to those yards, and that's something that the Commanders are going to need. They're going to need that strong force heading down the line. Benjamin St-Juste, I feel like he's just there, and he needs to do something. So I really feel like in the beginning of the season, when they played the Panthers and the Giants, you saw him show up. But at this rate of where the Commanders and how high the standard is for them, that's not enough. So definitely gonna have to really look at the draft to really see who do we know that can step up like Jaden and Mike in those rookie seasons, like in the
Mhm.
rookie season, along with even Chris Rodriguez Jr., who's also been getting some playtime in as a rookie, who could step up as those rookies and command the field essentially.
I love the way that you've explained it, and I agree with you. The team finally, for the first time, basically since RG3's rookie season and before that, I don't know if in my lifetime, they have a core. They have a clear concept to build around, a fast-paced West Coast styled offense. Terry McLaurin can run deep, have a tight end at all times, have running backs that can receive out the backfield. And I think that their defense and their offensive line are the areas where they can build. Last question before we wrap. What do you predict the score is going to be for the game?
Oh,
There are no insults
I
if wrong. I'll call
well,
31-28 Commanders. 31-28 Commanders.
really? Okay. Um, I'm gonna say 30.
It cut out, but it looked like you said 35-21. Skylar, we can't hear you.
Okay.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
Yes.
Go ahead, Skylar,
Perfect.
because right when you were giving those numbers,
Mhm.
so we want to hear it. We want to hear it.
Yes, the score, I think I'm gonna predict 37-31, maybe even 37-35, because it's gonna be a close game. You have two offensive explosive teams, and I really feel like they're gonna have an amazing opportunity to kind of stand out. And the defense is gonna compete. And I feel like, the Commanders are known for responding back in those fourth quarter moments. They're a fourth quarter team. So I really feel like they are going to have this opportunity to kind of battle out that Detroit defense and move forward into scoring position.
You all have been amazing. I have totally enjoyed the show. Richard?
Skylar knows her stuff. I'm more impressed with you than network analysts, honestly.
Wonderful, wonderful. Skylar, thank you so much. Richard, thank you so much. We're
Thank
going
you
to
for
sign
having
off,
me.
and we'll see you all on the other side next week when we kind of do a analysis of this weekend's game. All righty.
Yes, ma'am.
Okie doke.
Yes.
Thanks
Have a good
much.
day. Bye-bye.
You
Bye.
too. So that brings us to the end of another edition of Let's Talk. I hope that you enjoyed it. And, we're really going to start pushing a little bit more this sports segment. I love hearing sports conversations. And so we had a couple of other folks scheduled to join Skylar and Richard today. So we're going to keep working on them. In the end, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, for your patience. I hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, we're here every Friday from noon until 1 on your favorite social media channels, including YouTube. So until then, we have a little brief. We want to remind you to come on out to the MLK Holiday Peace Walk and Parade event tomorrow. And also go on out to the Kennedy Center on Sunday night. Nolan has a great show planned for you. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and I will see you all next week. So Stuart, here we are, right at Center Court at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in Southeast Washington on the campus of St. Elizabeth's Hospital. Tell them what's going to happen here.
So look, Denise, we're going to do something markedly different, something we've never done before. We're going to, first, the MLK Holiday DC Planning Committee will host the commemoration of the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King on Saturday, January 18th, 2025, right here at the Entertainment and Sports Arena. We're going to do it on January 18th, Saturday, January 18th, 2025, 11 a.m. Man, y'all got to come out and make sure that you be there so you can see it. Or be here.
See you there.